Hey there, this is Lucas Catton. Welcome to what will likely be my last video of 2020. And I wanted to share a couple thoughts. And that is that I was actually having a conversation with someone earlier, and we were talking about 2021 being like the year of letting go. And we were talking about letting go of different things and that kind of stuff. And I was thinking about what are some of the things that I have been working on letting go of, and things that I need to do a better job of letting go of as well, and that sort of thing, and how really how that sort of affects a lot of the things that we do when we develop this resentment or animosity toward another or others, and that's really a difficult thing to traverse sometimes, because a lot of times if we feel we've been harmed or damaged or somehow wronged or that kind of thing, then we want to hang on to that, and we want to then be resentful toward someone else. And I'm treading lightly on this because there's lots of degrees or varying levels of harm, obviously, that I'm talking about. But I did a video, I don't know, about a year ago or so about forgiveness. And this sort of goes into a little bit of that realm for sure, about forgiving people specifically who've been harmed. But I'm kind of steering away from that here and getting into more of just the idea of walking around. So many of us walk around and we have this general resentment towards, let's say, another type of person or another type of group. Whether it be political, whether it be ideological, whether it be former coworkers, whether it be former friends or whatever, that we sometimes harbor these feelings towards people, and really all it does is harm us internally. And part of it is that we, through developing an attachment towards, let's say, who we think we are, or our ideals or our ideologies or our political beliefs, or that kind of thing, where we hang on to this, and we start clinging to these things, and then we think that if someone else maybe has a different point of view or a different place that they're coming from, or somehow that it is somehow threatening ours, and that doesn't necessarily have to be the case. Like, there can be two opposing views that are both correct for those people's situations. And I had two actually pretty long conversations with different people about different subjects in the last couple of weeks, where we were able to get into some of those things and have just conversation about it, and try and come to a point where, even if we didn't resolve those differing points of view, there wasn't a conflict necessarily between us in that moment. And so we were able to have that conversation without the resentment, without the animosity. And it doesn't mean, for example, if you have been wronged, or if you have a cause, or you have a thing, or you have a you're wanting to correct a situation, or that you don't take action, or you don't stand up or speak your truth, and that sort of thing. Doesn't mean you don't do those things. It just means that internally you're not doing it from a place of hatred or animosity or anger or resentment, because that eats us up inside. It really eats us up inside. And certainly there's things that I have going on at different times that I go, you know what, I can approach the same thing from a matter of fact way, or from a loving manner. Even better would be like, I'm going to approach this from a loving manner. Yes, I want to correct the situation, but I don't wish any actual harm on the other person. In the middle is more of a neutral kind of thing of, just matter of fact, whatever, don't care what happens, like a zero attachment sort of thing. And then certainly on the lower level would be, wanting to inflict harm, or wanting something harmful to happen to that other person or that other group or whatever. And certainly the most common things we see are, racial situations, economic situations, religious situations, and political situations, where we have differing views and different origins of, let's say, stories and cultures and things like that, where people start to become threatened, or feel like they're threatened by someone else having a different thing, and that they must then be against them. And there can be a vast difference. And I'm tiptoeing around some of this, but I'll give you an example. So I am, if you saw, my stuff on the interview that I did with Mike Rinder and Leah Remini on their Fair Game podcast, we talk about some of this stuff with Scientology. I have no problems with people believing or wanting to follow a faith or a spiritual path or some other thing of their choice, as long as they're not harming someone. So I can speak out against the harm or the harmful acts without being disagreeable towards someone else wanting to believe whatever they want. I can sit in the same room and have a conversation with people of lots of different faiths, of lots of different backgrounds and cultures, and lots of different political affiliations, and we can have discussions even about difficult subjects, and do so in a way that doesn't harbor resentment and animosity. Because again, all that does is eat us up inside. And then it makes it easier to create sort of like you're either with us, against us. It's like an othering sort of thing, or an us versus them, or, me versus you, or whatever that sort of thing happens, where when we develop that almost like inner hatred eventually, on the more severe side of things, then it allows us to do hurtful things towards other people, or say hurtful things, or even, on the more extreme side, cause physical harm to other people simply because we believe different things, or because we have opposing ideas, or because whatever these things are. So my goal and sort of the topic of this thing is, in terms of letting go, is that's a wide topic. Letting go in general is a wide topic, but specifically letting go of resentment and animosity toward other people who might have a differing, a different reality than we do. We got into some conversations about, if in this person's life, in this part of the country, or this part of the world, their situation, a certain act or view may be 100% what is necessary in that moment for them. Whereas for someone else in a completely different background, completely different, situation, or part of the country or part of the world, the opposite may be true for them. It doesn't mean that one has to threaten the other. They can both exist at the same time. So, this idea of, wanting to continue to have these negative feelings towards people, and how that becomes interpreted internally, and how we can get to a point of allowing somebody else to have a different set of beliefs, a different set of opinions, etc. And even if we have points that we need to address that we feel very strongly about, it doesn't have to be from a place of animosity or resentment. You can be an activist for a cause and not do so wishing harm on the other person. There's a guy that I went to school with and played basketball with, who went on to become a minister, and is having these great discussions with people in his community about race relations, for example. And it's such a perfect example of being able to bring people together and have discussions and make points, and do so without harboring this really negative energy that comes with the feeling of anger, animosity, resentment, etc. Because what happens, we also then start to misinterpret regular communication about things, or what would otherwise be a very benign statement, whether it's written, spoken, or even just passing in a hallway, maybe a look or whatever. We start to then filter all this input through this level of resentment, and all of a sudden we start building in this unimplied or unintended meaning to something, and we become very defensive. We become, to the point where we get offended very easily by someone else's opinion, or that we're on edge and are, wanting to lash out and attack people and, be angry and that kind of thing, where a simple question can just be that. It can actually just be a question with no other intent to, belittle someone or anything like that, or wanting to understand can actually just be that, a desire to understand someone else and where they're coming from without having it to be pointed. Like, I'm asking this because I'm trying to catch you in something. It doesn't have to be that. You can state a claim. You can be genuinely curious and interested about the other person or the other group or the other situation, or, to be able to get a response and try to go about it. And I'm saying this for myself as well, because I'm 100% guilty in these things. And that's why I started off saying these are some of the things that I need to continue to learn to apply for myself, and some of the, some of the different activities that I involve myself in, and being able to, and relationships and things like that, being able to wish people well and go about things without harboring animosity, resentment, hatefulness of any kind, judgment, these things that are making people less than us and make it okay to somehow treat them poorly. Because in the end, it's not. It's not okay to continue to do that, because it only hurts everyone involved, including ourselves. So if that made any sense, great. I hope it did, but that's my hope. At the end of 2020 and going into 2021, is that we can all let go of more of our animosity and resentment toward others, and whatever it is that we're doing, we can do so from a more calm place that is less agitated and less judgment, less anger, etc. That's all I got for this time. I hope you're doing well. I hope you have a wonderful new year. I hope you had a great holidays. And hit me up anytime again, lucascatton.com. Take care.